Hello everyone, and welcome to the OAUG Young Professionals Forum for this August webinar on Managing Hyperion, the Importance of Building Relationships. My name is Samantha Ogon, and I am the OAUG Staff Liaison for the Young Professionals Forum. This call is being recorded, and so you are currently on mute, but we do highly encourage you to ask questions. So if you have any questions at any time during this webinar, don't hesitate to write in the questions box, and then we will answer all questions at the end of the presentation. Before we start the educational portion with Beth of this call, I would like to give you the update on the OAUG Young Professionals Forum and other educational and networking opportunities available to you with the OAUG. The OAUG Young Professionals Forum is here to help those who are new to their career or new to Oracle. And we are focused on helping you get your career started on the right foot, build your professional network with peers and mentors, stay up to date in the Oracle applications community, and is a place to share helpful information or a place for you to ask questions or discuss information. So if you'd like to get involved with the OAUG Young Professionals, one way is Oracle Open World. It's less than a month away, and if you are attending, you can join us in person for our meeting this year. This is a great opportunity to meet the group in person, and we'll have a little networking event as well. We will have our event on Sunday at 1 p.m., so be sure to add it to your calendar if you are attending. And I'd also like to mention that the OAUG Young Professionals Forum is run by volunteers. So if you'd like to get involved in the planning process, or if you have an idea for a future webinar, please email us. You can find our contact information on the website under membership and then Young Professionals. Or you can email me at membership@oaug.org to ask any questions or give us any of the future session ideas that you have. And another opportunity with the OAUG is that you can connect and learn with other Hyperion users with the Hyperion SIG. So this is the special interest group dedicated just to Hyperion users. They host webinars throughout the year as well as meet at Collaborate and Open World. So you can visit their website at hyperion.communities.oaug.org, and you can see any upcoming events and connect with the leaders of that special interest group to get on their email list. And we also have the upcoming Connection Point Hyperion online conference that is coming in November. And you can learn, basically, you can learn from Hyperion experts without leaving your desk in live or recorded sessions, and that is coming up on October 31st, not October 32nd, but October 31st through November 4th, 2016. And if you are currently a member of the OAUG, don't forget to take a look at our e-learning sessions and the current issue of the OAUG Insight magazine. The latest issue of the magazine has an interesting article on Oracle Planning and Budgeting Cloud Service. It explains the Oracle PBCS solution, highlights the features and recommendations. And we also have the Best of Special Interest Groups e-learning series running right now. And there are plenty of other webinars and recorded webinars that can help you answer any questions you may have with Oracle applications. And if you aren't a member, this is a good time to join because right now we are having a discount on your membership, and you can save up to $100 if you join before September 2nd. And you can visit the oaug.org/fly webpage for information on our membership and get some free samples of what you would receive with membership, including a webinar recording, a copy of the magazine, and a free white paper as well. All right, now let's get started with our webinar on Managing Hyperion, the Importance of Building Relationships. I have a member of the OAUG Young Professionals Steering Committee on our line to get us started. His name is Nihar Parikh from EPM Intelligence.
Thanks. I'm here to introduce Beth McLaughlin. She's the Senior Manager of Financial Systems and Business Process at Dunkin Brands. She has over 13 years of direct Oracle application experience, serving in various roles as a developer, administrator, project lead, trainer, and functional lead, and has been working with Oracle products including Hyperion Planning, Essbase, HFM, FDM, Oracle e-Business Suite, and OBIEE. Whether it's a small-scale enhancement, a system upgrade, or multi-million-dollar implementation, Beth has continuously delivered value to various organizations by leveraging Oracle products. On a daily basis, Beth draws on her communication skills, her project management experience, and her ability to adapt to meet the needs of her rapidly changing business environment in a global organization.
Thank you, Samantha and Neha. Today, I want to focus on the importance of building relationships when working with Hyperion. I will walk you through relationships and why they are important in the success of Hyperion. We'll talk about finance and IT. I'll discuss some steps to help build this relationship. I'll provide a real-life example, which is a support model I have helped to develop at my current company. We'll talk about the other players and some relationship tips and tricks. And finally, I will provide a recap and give you a chance to ask questions at the end. I wanted to take the time today to talk about why relationships are so important when working with Hyperion. And when I really think about this, it comes down to the various groups and environments that Hyperion supports. Hyperion is often the relied upon system in a rapidly changing business environment with demanding needs. Many factors come into play when supporting a Hyperion environment, including pressure, both internal and external, company politics, competing priorities from the various stakeholders within your organization, and varying skill sets among both the users and the support team. Balancing these factors can be challenging, so building a strong relationship with Hyperion stakeholders can help you control and manage your system. One thing you should think about as we walk through this presentation is the environment you work in. It's funny because as I thought about the different types of environments I have worked in, I immediately thought of my household because at any given day, it can be very calm, it can be chaotic, and anything in between. The graphic on the left represents a hostile environment and the right represents a collaborative environment. I've supported Hyperion and companies with very differing cultures and environments throughout my career, but I have found that most of the tips that I provide in today's presentation can apply and help achieve success in just about any environment. Whether you work in a small or large company, one that has an on-premise solution or one that has moved to the cloud, a siloed or a more collaborative culture, you can apply some of the suggestions to make it work in your company. And the main theme is fostering relationships. So who are the players? In any Hyperion environment, you have a number of stakeholders that can influence the decisions you make. I have classified the key players into 3 categories: finance, IT, and the others, which we will discuss in detail in the next few slides. Let's start by talking about the relationship that I have put a lot of focus on and find it to be one of the more important relationships when it comes to Hyperion, which is finance and IT. Hyperion is traditionally managed by finance or accounting, IT, or a combination of both. The Hyperion support model can differ depending on the business needs and the culture of your organization. While there is no right or wrong in terms of who owns what, my experience has been that a good relationship between finance and IT is critical to build the foundation for a stable Hyperion environment. In the next few slides, I'll talk about the Hyperion support model we are currently using at my company today, as well as the 4 main steps we took to develop it, which are determining a common goal, creating a partnership, setting priorities, and establishing a process. So let's talk about a real-life example, which is the support model that the IT and finance organization in my company developed together. The Hyperion support model at my company was developed in a time when we were experiencing a need for stability. We were growing quickly and we recognized the need to formalize the support. So the simple problem was who does what in terms of Hyperion support, and the solution was to develop a support model. So to give you some details, IT owns Hyperion at my company, but the business drives the process. We actually split the Hyperion role into 2 distinct positions. We have a functional manager, which is my role, and I sit in the finance organization, and we have a technical manager who sits in IT. We have a formal enhancement request process, which requires input from both the business and technical teams. And we focus on clear communication and documentation for consistent support. The idea here was to create a Hyperion support model that fosters the collaborative relationship between IT and finance. We used the 4 main steps to create and define this model. So now let's look at those steps in detail. First, we defined a common goal. Again, there's no right or wrong in terms of Hyperion ownership and support, but if you are working jointly, you want to ensure the model supports a common goal. IT and finance at Dunkin Brands determined that our first priority is to provide consistent support by creating a reliable and stable system. And by defining this goal together, both teams feel equal ownership and responsibility for the system. Next, we created a partnership. The partnership between finance and IT gives the end user confidence in the support. Communication is what facilitates this partnership. Some examples of communication tools or tasks I utilize in finance to communicate with IT are explaining the process, providing a calendar overview, and highlighting relevant dates in advance. So to talk a little bit about that, every month the IT and finance teams meet and we talk about what's coming up, whether it be a forecast cycle, a budget cycle, etc., and what that means in terms of Hyperion support. We lay out a full year calendar at the beginning of the year that layers in not only financial dates, so for example the financial close periods, with Hyperion jobs that support those processes. And not only do I explain the Hyperion needs, but I also let the teams know what's actually happening in the business so that they have a good understanding of the process. Next, we set priorities, and setting priorities together helps promote the system and supports that partnership. To help set priorities together, you can establish an enhancement request process that includes both parties. This is important in the process because if both parties have a say in how we maintain and develop the system, it helps support that common goal of system stability. Finally, we established a process. Working together to establish your processes helps achieve predictability. So an example of a process that finance and IT established together is what we call the monthly prep meeting. And every month we meet face-to-face and we talk about what's happening that month. We actually delineate responsibilities. So for example, I update the substitution variables in the system while IT reviews what I'm doing as a second set of eyes. IT then schedules all of the Hyperion jobs. I run a report and verify that those jobs are correct. IT also lets finance know if there are any upcoming initiatives, such as system maintenance, that may affect our business process. So we really focus on communication. And these steps help strengthen the relationship between IT and finance. But there are certainly other relationships you need to foster in order to help build your Hyperion brand. So now let's talk about some of the other players. So who are the others that you need to think about when working in a Hyperion environment? You have customers, and that could include finance or other business users, operations users, HR functions, etc., depending on how you use Hyperion at your company. You may have cross-functional teams as you develop your system or roll out new projects. And you may work with vendors such as monitoring teams, consultants working on Hyperion projects, etc. Let's talk about some tips and tricks to build the relationship with your customers. First, you want to understand your community and you want to partner with them. It's very important to build trust through partnership and collaboration with your customers. Don't assume you know your audience. Take the time to learn their wants and needs. And similarly, take nothing for granted in business requirements, particularly on new projects. So don't assume you know what they want. Really take the time to document those requirements. Next, you want to be firm but flexible, and this one can really be challenging. You always want to keep your goal as the priority. And again, our goal at Dunkin Brands was to maintain a stable and reliable system. And you need to be firm in holding to that goal. But that being said, if you are open and flexible with your customers and work to find ways to satisfy their needs without compromising your goal, they will respect you as a leader. They will trust that you are considering their needs when making decisions. You also want to formalize your enhancement process. I would encourage you to put a structured process in place regardless of frequency of enhancements or the scale of the enhancement. And this process should have a clear definition of approval, timeline, and next steps. I would encourage you to utilize a cross-functional team to ensure that the enhancement makes sense for the greater good. So you want to avoid putting in an enhancement that would help one stakeholder but hurt another. And finally, you want to continue enhancements and documentation regardless of relationships. And I mention this because it can be tempting as you establish yourself and start to know your customers to bypass the process, particularly for small enhancements. You want to make sure you maintain that process that you establish. And the main goal you want to focus on here is building trust. Many of you will likely be involved in a cross-functional project as you work with Hyperion. And this can be a great way to build relationships across the organization, and there are many ways to extract benefits from a project. First, when working on a project, full transparency is key. The more upfront and direct you can be with your project team, the more people will trust you and the project will run more efficiently. You want to consider the impact to the community, thinking about version requirements, other systems, timing, etc. You want to think about not only your Hyperion community, but how your project may affect others in your organization. And that will help others respect your process and trust that you are considering their needs as well as your own. A tip here is to use cross-functional relationships to understand dependencies and gain exposure to other areas of the business. Similarly, you want to get other teams involved early in the project to gain support, and you want to ensure teams understand the solution through documentation, demonstrations, and prototyping. And this gets back to that transparency and trust. Including your key stakeholders with checkpoints in the process will go a long way in terms of your overall support for your project. Another way to help build relationships on the team is to advocate for the greater good and be the voice of reason. If you establish yourself as a voice of reason on the project team, people will look to you as a trusted resource, and you will have more influence into the decisions being made on that project. And I can give you an example here. On my last Hyperion project, we were working on a software version upgrade, and we were running behind schedule. We were approaching our budget season, and I knew it could be risky to release the upgrade without the proper testing. I suggested we delay the release for 3 months until the budget was complete. And although that delayed the project, the team really appreciated the approach of avoiding risk in a heavy usage time. So I was able to be the voice of reason for that timeline, for the timeline on that project. Another tip I can give you is to try and learn from your biggest supporter and your worst critic. And it can be a challenge to foster the relationship with your worst critic. But by including that person or people in the process, you can understand their point of view and address their concerns. The ultimate goal is to solve for what they feel the project is lacking and turn a critic into a supporter, but that's not always possible. Sometimes letting them know their opinion is being considered can go a long way, and even if you can't change their mind, you can get the negativity out of the way right in the beginning of the project, and you can keep your project moving. Finally, you want to build your image. You want to challenge your naysayers and promote your brand. So you want to use the relationships you've built with the project team to help spread the word, spread the buzz about the upcoming project, and start to build your image as a reputable Hyperion system and support team. Finally, many of you may have an opportunity to build relationships with vendors. Vendors could include consultants working on a Hyperion project, temporary staff, system monitoring teams, etc. And at my company, we often use consultants. I use them when appropriate and value added. So for Dunkin, we use them when a project is technically complex, when we have an aggressive timeline, and when we are tight on resources. I would encourage you to pick a vendor that fits your needs, and you want to think about your company culture. You want to meet your vendors, make sure you're comfortable with them, and pick a vendor that specializes in whatever it is you are looking to do. Partnership is key. You want to pick a vendor that will be flexible, will fit in your culture, and will guide you for the right long-term decision for your company. And finally, when working with vendors, make sure you are the advocate for your audience. At times, your consultants may come in with a great idea, but it may not be a great fit for your audience or your company culture. Don't be afraid to say no. Work with the vendor to find alternatives that will meet your customer needs. The customers will continue to trust you, and it will help the relationship between you and your vendors as well, and then they will have somebody they can work with as the subject matter expert. So to quickly recap the ideas we discussed today, we talked about the importance of defining Hyperion responsibilities to build structure and stability. We talked about the 4 steps to build a path of Hyperion management success. And I gave you some tips and tricks in building relationships with key players in your organization to strengthen your Hyperion environment. So I wanted to thank you for listening to today's webinar, and please don't hesitate to contact me in the future, and I'll now open it up. We'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Beth. And if you have any questions for Beth at the moment, please submit them in the question box right now, and we'll wait for you to type any questions that you have. Also on the screen, you'll notice some contact information for Beth or for the OAUG, so you're welcome to jot that down as well, so you can get a hold of us if you have questions in the future as well. Beth, one question. With when you're dealing with relationships inside your organization, how do you deal with people who are key players in your organization that might have difficult attitudes towards working in a project with a team?
Yeah, that can be a difficult situation. What I found is that engaging that person early on in the project really helps, because one of 2 things is going to happen. Either they're going to get their negativity addressed with the project, and they'll be pleasantly surprised that you're actually addressing their needs, and you know, that will kind of squash the negativity right up front. Or there's always the person that no matter how well you do in the project, you know, they're still not going to be necessarily happy or satisfied. So by including them in the process early, they get that negativity out of the way. I think the key thing is you don't want that person or people to slow you down in the project. So I think the tendency is to try and avoid that person during the project. I actually suggest you engage them right away, include them in the process, make sure they know that their concerns are being heard, and you know, keep the project moving.
Great. All right, it doesn't look like we have any more questions, but if anyone does have future questions for Beth or me, don't hesitate to reach out to that contact information. And I want to thank Beth for her time today and working us through all of these great points. So thank you everyone for attending as well, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.